Howdy YouTubes, hope that you're doing well as we are in the midst of the phenomenon that is Barbenheimer weekend. In this video, I'll be taking a look at the latest Christopher Nolan film, Oppenheimer. And in my opinion, Christopher Nolan is really one of the last few directors left in Hollywood who would be given the budget to make a movie like this, It's not your traditional summer blockbuster full of action. We have a 3-hour long dialogue heavy drama, and I'm glad we still get movies like this. And this film really shines when it looks into these historical figures and examines their various flaws. A longtime Nolan collaborator, Cillian Murphy, of course stars as J. Robert Oppenheimer, and it's nice to finally see him in the leading role in one of these Nolan flicks. And I think after seeing this performance, people are really going to give him his flowers for, his skill as an actor. Just the different emotions and internal conflicts that he's able to display with his eyes, as well as with his facial expressions. And he really threw himself into this role and embodied this complex and conflicted genius. And also he kind of looks like the actual Oppenheimer, so that's a nice added bonus. But this is another star-studded cast from Nolan. You have big names and award winners and, minor roles even, just roles that they only have a scene or two. But besides Murphy, Robert Downey Jr. probably gives the other standout performance. We've seen him play Iron Man for a decade. But he really gets to, put his acting chops on display here as Lewis Strauss, the former chairman of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, or AEC. And he's also the man who really upped the scrutiny on Oppenheimer, which led to the hearings in the 50s that caused Oppenheimer to lose his security clearance, basically ending his career as a nuclear physicist. But this film, it's got a few tropes of some other Nolan movies. You got different timelines going on at the same time. Like, we have 3 main events going on throughout the film that we kind of, jump around between. Those being first Oppenheimer's, rise through academia, leading to heading up the Manhattan Project. Then you have his security hearing in 1954, and then lastly you have Strauss's own Senate confirmation hearing in the hopes of becoming Secretary of Commerce for the U.S. And as I'm sure most of you have had as well, I've had issues at times with the sound mixing of some of these movies, from Nolan, I mean. Like some noises or music is played super loud while the, dialogue is kind of hard to hear at times. So I missed out on, little bits of the story, on first viewings. But this film does, a better job at the dialogue being able to be heard than Tenet that, although there were still a few scenes I missed out on a line here or there, but, it wasn't too bad. I think most of that was more towards the beginning. And speaking of which, I felt like with how the story presented itself, I wasn't sure, who was which character at first. And I kind of didn't understand the importance of, some things shown in the beginning until more toward the end of the film. Not to say that this is like a flaw in the movie, but just pointing out that there are a lot of scientific and historical figures portrayed in the movie. And might just take a little while to fully understand, who's who and where each character is coming from, what's their point of view, what are they trying to accomplish until, later in the movie. And another thing is that, this film has a mix of black and white scenes as well as scenes in color. Ahead of the release, Nolan came out and said that the black and white scenes are meant to be objective while the color scenes are more subjective. So, and especially during the Oppenheimer hearing, some scenes of the Oppenheimer hearing, and the testing of the atomic bomb in Los Alamos that are in color, you kind of get a sense of the emotions that Oppenheimer is going through at that time, as well as, kind of things going in his mind, But this film, it doesn't really show any of its characters as, all good, or bad. It's not, that black and white. No pun intended, but Oppenheimer himself, he's not portrayed as a hero, not but he's more like, he's a human like us. He's got his own faults. Like, he's a brilliant mind, but he can also be very egotistical at times, and he's a womanizer. He's careless with the company and some of the friendships that he keeps. He's not a family man at all, well, at least in this movie. And he doesn't even want anything to do with the responsibilities of being a father, raising a child in the film. And while the film is, this film, it's more about the people and the politics around the bomb than the atomic bomb itself. But the scene where it finally goes off at the Trinity testing is, in a word, like, captivating. And instead of a noisy explosion, it starts off in silence, and you're just given all these visual, that are stunning. The explosion and the columns of fire, as well as the reactions of everyone involved in the project. And you feel excitement on some level, seeing Oppenheimer and all these scientists accomplish their goal and succeeding. But the film, it also leaves you with a sense of uneasiness and fear over what they've unleashed on the world. Like, similar to Prometheus, whose story we see at the beginning of the film, in text. Oppenheimer, he's given man the means to destroy itself, and it's kind of funny considering how long the film is. But I still would have liked to have seen some relationships explored a bit more, such as Oppenheimer's relationship with his wife and kids. But despite it being very, very dialogue heavy, it didn't feel like excessively long or like a 3-hour movie. I would give this latest film, by Nolan, 8 out of 10. And yeah, I would highly recommend you see it in 70mm as he intended if you can. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the movie as well. Or did you go see Barbie instead? Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and take care.